Alright folks, my name is Freyn, and this hungry little thing here is Baldrick. As many of you know, I do have a real love for reptiles, and this is the second of my two pets. I have done a video on Rex before, as well as another on a trip out to be a crocodile keeper for a day, so I thought it's really time for me to get something done for Baldrick here as well. So, where do we begin? Well, and yes, she, despite the name Baldrick, this is a girl. She's a Saharan uromastyx. She's around 10 years old. I don't know exactly when she was born, as I got her from a pet store, unlike Rex, who came directly from a breeder. But my best guess is it was sometime in April 2010. She was bought for me as a birthday present in August that year, and based on her size at the time I got her, I'm guessing she was about 4, maybe 5 months old. I can't know for sure. Every individual animal, of course, grows at a different speed, but that's my best estimate. Now, she was actually originally sold to me as a male, and so was named Baldrick after one of my favourite TV characters. It's a rather silly but well-meaning little fellow in Blackadder, played by Tony Robinson. If you've not seen the show, definitely recommended. But it was actually about 2 years later, after naming her, that I found out she was a male when I was talking to a few people online. And by then, it was a little hard for me to get used to a new name, so she stuck with Baldrick. Not that it really matters, she doesn't respond to name calls or anything, sadly. She's actually not the most super tame at all, so I do wonder if she was actually wild caught and not bred in captivity. Again, it varies from animal to animal. Some will always stay a bit flightish, and this species is naturally quite timid and quite prone to fleeing at the best of times anyway. So that doesn't really mean too much. I'll never know, so there's not too much point wondering about it. But yeah, one time I went in to buy some food for Rex at the pet store, and I saw her little face and just fell in love on the spot. She just at that point, all I could think of was the little dinosaurs from Land Before Time. So she was offered to me as a gift by my parents, and yeah, I wasn't going to say no to that. I did contemplate calling her Spike at first because of Land Before Time. She's extremely hungry, and her face most reminds me of Spike, the Ankylosaurus from that film. But given her having a spiky tail, it felt a little too on the nose, so we went with Baldrick. Yes, as I said, she is a Saharan uromastyx, so obviously, as the name would imply, she comes from the Sahara. They do vary in colour. I've seen some bright orange ones. Her colouring, on the other hand, is it's bright yellow when she gets very warm. It does get quite dull when she's not super warm, but really, it's mostly when she gets into real sunlight out in the garden that you start to see the colour come through. As with Rex's video, please excuse the quality of some of this footage. Some of these videos, they are 10 years old. Old cameras, well, certainly my old camera was not that great back then. But you can see in this old footage, she's quite active sometimes. Not all the time. Lately, it's up and down, but she was quite active, desperately trying to hide wherever she could. Certainly not that interested in being held. She's still kind of like that now. When I put my hand in the tank to pick her up, she will run away if I go too fast. But she has improved a bit, especially last summer, where I started. I went with the idea of only feeding her when she was being held in my hand, so she definitely got used to the idea of being picked up and getting food, and that really helped. For a few weeks, she went completely differently. Just stopped running away when I tried to pick her up. If I had her out on the floor somewhere in the room, I could get up and walk over, and she wouldn't. She would no longer flee off and try and find somewhere to hide. She'd just stand there and look up at me. But unfortunately, living in Britain, we don't really get that much good weather, so most of the time I can't take her outside or anything, which means that after the summer ended, she kind of reverted back. Hopefully this year I'll start that a bit earlier, and we'll get a lot more time with her, and she'll tame down quite a bit. Although, her fear completely goes away if food is involved, especially insects. As a species, they are typically, or at least they're certainly recommended to only feed them veg. But if she sees me even holding an insect that I'm going to give to Rex, she will desperately try and get out the tank to try and get to it. There have been occasions where I've had the two of them out in a room, fairly large floor space, so they're at opposite ends of the room, and I'll try and just put some food down for Rex to chase, and she'll have sprinted sort of 6 foot across the floor and grabbed it before he's even realised it's there. So I do give her the odd insect. Usually, maybe like 2 or 3 a month at most. It's very much a treat for her. I don't feed her on insects regularly. It is mostly greens. She does like the odd other thing, like she's had apple and bits of grape occasionally. Never really seemed to be very interested in strawberry. She has had some once, but she didn't pay it too much attention. Never managed to get her to eat anything like carrots. It's always just been the greens, but she is seemingly permanently hungry. They are a large species, they do have quite a bit of chonk to them naturally, but she certainly likes her food, so every now and then I have to sort of cut back. If there's food involved, she doesn't care. If I put my hand in the tank, she'll run. If I put my hand in the tank with food, she'll climb straight into it. Not a problem. When she's warm, she gets pretty active. It's normally in the morning, I find. When she's in the tank, she'll be running around. When it comes to the afternoon, she's calmed down quite a bit. And sometimes she'll be active every day. Others, it can go a week without me even seeing her come outside of her cave. She does like to hide. But in the summer, when it's nice and warm, if I take her outside into the garden, she loves it. She'll run all over the place. She does recognise that I am not a threat, it seems, because if she does get spooked by something, like say a bird flies overhead, she will run to me. She won't go for the nearest rock or hedge or anything. She will come to me, and she'll come and she'll climb into my lap, and she'll just sit and watch from there. She knows that I'm safe, basically. But she is adorable. She will live to around, I think the average expected lifespan is about 25 years, so I've still got a long time with her, unlike Rex, who is already over his expected lifespan. There are larger species as well. You can get, she's at full size now. She's about 12 inches long, 30 centimetres for those of you using the French system. Yeah, she's full size. There is a couple of larger species, the biggest of which gets up to about 3 times that. She seems to really enjoy climbing, so I've built some little ledges in the background, most of which she's kind of destroyed. Until I can get sort of a temporary enclosure for her, I can't do anything with that because they are built into the tank, so I can't redo those. She's got quite sharp claws, and with all her frenzied climbing, she has rather torn them apart. Certainly a fan of climbing, though. She will climb the furniture if I let her out. I try not to put her on my person, unlike Rex, because she has been known to try and climb onto my head, and those claws can scratch quite a bit. She seems to really love being out in the garden, though. She will sit and stare at the window, just watching the world go by, and then if I let her out, she'll run around all over the place, and apparently eat a lot of grass. I don't know if that's normal for them. I don't know if that's something she should be doing, but she certainly likes it, and seems to have not done her any harm so far. Unlike Rex, again, she doesn't have a water bowl. All the water she gets comes from her food. As said, they are naturally from the Sahara. It's it's very hot there, very dry, so they don't need water. Now, you may be wondering about the tail. It is very spiky. Yes, that is for defense. She's never hit me with it. If I try and pick her up too early on a morning, for instance, when I've had to take her to the vet or something, it's better to try and get her into her little carrying box when she's still cool and a bit less active. All reptiles do need to warm up in the morning to gain their energy, so if I try and pick her up really early and she's still a bit cold, she will wiggle a bit as if she's going to tail whip, but she's never actually done it. She's never tail whipped me. It is their defense, though. They'll wedge themselves between some rocks, they'll puff up a bit to make them harder to dislodge, and then if something tries to get them, they will whip it. But I can't really think of too much else to say right now, so I'm going to leave the video there for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed this and learned a little bit more about one of my pets, if you cared at all. I would love to have some more reptiles in the future, and I may do little update videos on them, even just like little short, 2 minutes of Baldrick running around in the garden, or Rex failing to catch a locust in his tank. I don't know. I'll probably do a bit more, but for now I'm going to leave it there. Yeah. So as I said, I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. She really likes to lick things.